Film Review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, Society podcast, interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 5:30 p.m. on Facebook at Crayon Dion.
Hey everybody, this is Lunell, the original bad girl of comedy. I'm here at the Link Promenade in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, and you're watching the Film Review.
What's going on? This is another great episode of the Film Review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, and Society. Again, this is another great episode of the Film Review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, and Society. We are your hosts. I'm Crazy Dee.
I'm Tracey.
And we review movies, music, culture, politics, and society. And do we have a great show for you today? And we do have the phone lines open at 213-943-3358. That's 213-943-3358. And how has your week been?
It's been a great week, besides this cold, but a short week, thanks to the holiday.
Thanks to the holiday.
So it was a very, very short work week, and it was pretty nice. And it was nice to see, family and friends, and, Thanksgiving, we each make out of it what we want it to be, right?
That's right.
So we see it as a way to give thanks for what we have, and we're thankful for the family and friends in our lives, and that's how we celebrate Thanksgiving.
That's more than right.
Right, so it's multiple ways to celebrate Thanksgiving other than thinking of the traditional Pilgrims and Indians, right? And the genocide. So we understand that, we get that, but on a day off, you can be with your loved ones, whether it's family or close friends or just, whomever. So Thanksgiving is about just giving thanks.
That is.
For what you have.
Absolutely. So, people.
Oh, and definitely want to dedicate this show to our grandmother who passed, Ozella Carlisle. December 3rd, she would have been 85.
December 3rd.
Yeah, so she is definitely missed by a lot of people.
Definitely missed. That's right. Okay, people. So as we go, we want to say what's up to Shanine Hicks. We see that she's
Shanine.
Listening right
We're
now.
thankful for Shanine.
Yes, that's right. That's right. She does her thing. Okay, people.
Yes.
Look here. So we're broadcasting lively. As I do some population here, we're broadcasting lively, and do we have a great show? First of all, we're going to be reviewing Tariq Nasheed's Hidden Colors 5.
Yes.
And then we go to Lena Waithe, Queen and Slim movie. Is it worth the hype? Is it worth the ticket price? Is it dope or nope?
Right.
Did it leave us disappointed, right? And then also we're going to be talking about the top 5 best black female actors, foundational black American, ADOS, right? And then we're going to also talk about The Irishman. That is Marty Scorsese's latest offering that he offered up to the people to watch, and we're going to be reviewing that, right? So where do we begin today? Because like I said, this is
great show.
Yes, it's such a jam-packed show. Where do we begin? As my phone is not showing me what I wanted to show me, and it's pissing me off right now, people. But anyway, okay. So let's go. All right, people. So Queen and Slim, right? Queen and Slim is what we're starting with today, right?
Right.
Queen and Slim. Let me just say that Daniel and Miss Smith. they put it down in this film. I want to say that first. They put it down in this film. You have to give them utmost credit.
Excellent.
About the film, right? Queen and Slim.
Yeah.
If you want to call in and talk about it, 213-943-3358. There was some concerns on the film because neither actor appears to be ADOS or Foundational Black American. So there was an issue concerning that, and people said they weren't going to see the film. And then there was also other issues because the person who wrote the script, they were complaining because she is, what do we call it? What do they call that? LGBTQ. This is all the things that I've been seeing, reading over the internet and seeing these different things happening in the black filmmaker group chats and things, that they were making a hubbub about that, about her being, how could she tell a story about love? And then other people said, well, she told a story about love, and what can you say about that, right?
Sometimes people love to complain just to complain, and they don't even focus on what they really need to be complaining about and the issues that they really need to be focusing on. So, I mean, it's just social media noise, right?
So before we get started, let's go with the cast.
Okay. So the cast of Queen and Slim, Daniel Kaluuya, Jodie Turner-Smith, Chloe Sevigny, Bokeem Woodbine, India Moore, Sturgill Simpson, Flea. Yep, Flea
from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
And Kobe Boothman.
Right.
So excellent cast. Let's see.
Who else?
And then we know Lena Waithe. She was with the screenwriter as well as producer, right?
Right.
And then Melina Matsoukas.
Yeah.
The director.
The director.
Right.
Right.
So everybody was just the acting was A+, and so was the directing and the screen. Play, would it be?
Yeah, it would be the screenplay. Yeah,
excellent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Beautifully done.
Beautifully done.
I mean, you can't ask for more.
No. So, I mean, and especially coming from Cleveland, we talked about it in the theater. Like when
we're gonna get on that. We're gonna talk about the
the dialects and everything,
right.
and just But the acting is superb, and I knew that Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah.
Was going to kill it.
Going to do it, yeah.
Knew he was going to kill it because, I mean, come on. The first time I believe that I saw him as an actor, I believe, is in Us, right? Mm-hmm. Because he's been acting since 16.
Right.
But after seeing him in Us, I mean, Get Out.
Get Out, that's right.
After seeing him in Get Out, right, I knew that he was going to kill this role, and then I knew when that he was involved in the project. I said, okay, it's gonna be fire. So, and he did not disappoint. Along with the other cast, like Jodie Turner-Smith, she completely delivered. And this is the first film that I've seen her in, and she did a great job. So was looking forward to this film. It finally came out, and I was not disappointed.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, people. So let's break the film down just a little bit. Okay. Kaluuya and Smith, like I said, they put it down.
Right.
We're gonna get to the Cleveland thing in a little bit. Fred Williamson. We spotlighted Fred Williamson last week in our ongoing endeavors to talk about the strong black man archetype in blaxploitation. He said, Fred Williamson said he produces films where he wins, rides off in the sunset with the girl and the goods. In that aspect, this film is not blaxploitation, we'll say that.
Far from it.
Now, there are elements of blaxploitation in it, which we'll get to, but in that aspect of it, it is not blaxploitation in that way, right? The through line of the film, beautifully written if you pay attention, right? If you pay attention to things, it is beautifully written. And let me bring this up real quick because it's very important that we do some geography here with you people, so that you'll know what's really going on here, right? So let's do some geography. Okay, here's a map. Okay. Here's a map of the United States of America. No, I'm gonna move it over. You don't have to move. Okay.
The film review.
So here's a map of the United States of America, and as you see here, let me see here, point here. This is Ohio, right here, right? Yep. Now, Northeast Ohio is up higher by Lake Erie, right? So as you come down, you see Ohio, then you see Tennessee, right? You see Ohio. And I got that right there because I can't see it.
I can see Ohio. It's yellow.
Yeah, it's Ohio. Then you have in between Tennessee and Ohio. Then you have Alabama, which leads you straight into Florida, right? So you're sitting there and you're looking at this picture, and they're taking you through the Underground Railroad, right? So let me bring this over here real quick, and look at this map bigger for myself, so I can tell you, so I can be thoroughly educated about what I'm telling you here, so that you can be educated about what we're talking about here. So let me bring this map up real quick, okay. So people who are listening to the replay on the podcast audio only, well, just pull up a United States map, and then you'll be able to see what we see, right? So let me find that United. There we go. All right, here we go. All right, people. So this is the map, like I said, and you have Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, right? Now for people who have researched the Underground Railroad, there's 2 tracks to the Underground Railroad, right? So you have Ohio, again, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida. So there's a lot of self-made liberators in Florida, and people would get to Florida to be free, right? And they will also go into Ohio, because Ohio was one of the free states, and then cross over into Canada, right? So this is a map that's showing you what they were showing you in the story, which is a story of the Underground Railroad, right? And as you watch the film, you see the different it's actually what Harriet movie could have been, right? Giving details in the scripts where they have stops to be free. In other words, when I say stops, they have different allies, right? The use of characters, as allies within this piece is beautifully done in this film, right? It's beautifully done. It's and using the concept of the Underground Railroad as the piece within it. That's beautiful storytelling, right? So I'm gonna bring this up behind it so that we can show it here, show what we're talking about here, so you know that we're talking about Queen and Slim, right? So again, this is the map, right? So get your kids out, This part of the show is clean, we won't be doing that, but Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, and Florida, right? So they take you through the Underground Railroad as she's telling this story, and it's a modern day Underground Railroad, beautifully done. Now, the use of characters with no name style puts you in the picture. Much like the cowboy with no name Clint Eastwood made famous in the spaghetti westerns from Italy back in the 1960s, including Fistful of Dollars, 64, for a few dollars more, 65. The Good, the Bad, the Ugly in 1966, created by Sergio Leone, right? The No Name Scheme makes it feel like it could be you, right? You root for the characters. You find yourself on the edge of your seat to see what happens next, right? So what were some of the aspects about the film that you saw, that you picked out on it?
Of course, I love the acting, of course. I'm a music person, I love music, so I love the soundtrack, right? So I love the scenery, during their ride, throughout the country.
Right.
I love, although it began in Cleveland, right?
Right, it begins in Cleveland.
Right. Because we're not going to give the film away, but we all saw how the film kicked off from the trailer, right? So that's not giving anything away.
Giving nothing away that
right.
way.
So I love the diner scene, right? So that's the part in Cleveland that I do enjoy, is the diner scene, and you've also seen that scene in the trailer.
So that's no.
There's no spoiler.
No spoiler there.
So because of course, just hearing the dialect, because in the theater you was like, he has it on point, they sound like,
Well, we're gonna talk about it a little bit more, because I wonder what what Cleveland people who are there, what they feel about their performance, right?
Right.
How they feel.
And I don't know. I'm just assuming, because I know we were happy, so they were on point. I really appreciate the fact that Daniel, the actor who played Slim, went to Cleveland.
He went to
spent
Cleveland.
time in Cleveland and around Clevelanders to pick up the dialect and mannerisms.
Yeah. He says,
so much respect for that, and that showed a lot of respect.
What did he say
for
he did? He
people.
said that he went and just hung out.
Oh yeah.
And he found a person, and they worked at Walmart, and they said that on the weekends.
Costco, right?
Costco. That's right. Why would I say Walmart? Costco was for the people.
Right.
Said that Costco, they get on the weekend, they get $30 an hour, so they like the man, right? So and he picked up the mannerisms and the dialect of the city. So I thought, I don't want to freak out. And then I love, like I said, going through the states and stuff, but the time that they spent in Alabama, right? So we seen this in the trailer also. So that scene, I'm not going to give, which, you have to go see the film. But that scene in Alabama, I love that scene also. That was like really soulful, and that just reminded me of like that music in that scene, and then the people remind me of, it felt like Cleveland too, right? Because a lot of Clevelanders, like our family, people came from Alabama. We are true blues enthusiasts. So when you look at this map, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, then you have Alabama, then you have Florida, right? Cleveland people are true blues connoisseurs, right? So when you realize that
you grew up hearing it.
Yeah, but when you realize that most of the people from Cleveland come from Alabama, they pass through Tennessee, they pass through Kentucky to get to Ohio. So when you get down here and you get to the scene where the music is playing and the woman in the trailer says you're safe here, is because of the fact that it's that same down home that you get in Ohio. It's what you would get in Alabama, because most of the people come from Alabama, and they have been strictly in the struggle for a very long time. It's interesting that Lena Waithe chose to draw these as two characters from Cleveland, Ohio, particularly because Cleveland, Ohio people have a certain type of consciousness that even the people who are doing what could be considered dirt still have a consciousness to them that we've been a lot of places. We've seen a lot of things, and we don't see necessarily that consciousness. So when the blues came on, I'm talking about real blues, okay? I'm talking about real blues. I'm talking about 3-chord blues, where the guy is sitting up in there, and I'm like, well, where'd this guy come from? Because I haven't heard this type of blues in a long time, right? Yeah. It's not country style blues or southern style blues. It is blues music with the 3 chords, and the man is putting it down. And when it started playing, it reminded me of holiday times during the Christmas season when the blues would be playing. And as I got older, I was the DJ, so I would spin the blues, B.B. King, Albert King, you name it, the blues artists. And to hear a blues artist putting it down like this man was putting it down in this film, you should go to the film just to see that Alabama, Ohio connection and how that was and how the consciousness was, right? And then, you cross it to Florida, and then, hey.
But you know what? The soundtrack, what's good about it is you hear songs that either you grew up listening to, one, or two, that you listen to yourself, right? So, I mean, it was just, it took you for a ride, definitely. Nice. An emotional ride. It's just, you felt like, because I told you this after the film was over, in the theater, you felt as if you were a ride-along.
Yeah, you felt like
not talking about Ice Cube's film, which is great right. But like you were in that car with them. You were going through the journey with them. It was so like well written, and then you can tell that Lena and Melina like put their heart and soul into this project.
They put their heart and soul
because it was so palpable, right?
Right.
So it's not just like any other film. Like you have films that are good films and films you just enjoy, but this right here is like a piece of art, like for me, right?
It is.
So because it takes you on a journey, so you do see and meet different types of personalities, right? So throughout this journey and watching this film, I of course you do go on an emotional roller coaster. And then there are things in this film, because again, we're not going to give a film away, just like in real life, right? So I had to swallow that, while watching the film and say, hey, there are people who are assholes. Okay. Of all races, right?
Okay.
So, so it does take you on a journey, because when you find yourself being invested in the characters, when you like looking at the screen and you pissed because you feel like they're doing it to you, when it leaves an imprint like that on you, that's the mark of a great film.
Great film.
It's going to be a classic.
It's going to be a classic. Now listen, people. We're giving you the breakdown of what made the script writer. Because I believe that in script writing, you can be an auteur.
Right.
And as being a director, you can be an auteur. Right. The music selection, like my wife was saying, the music selection in this is strictly exactly what Cleveland, Ohio people would be listening to in their car.
Because when I heard you chop the screw, I said, okay, I remember that period.
I mean, when I heard the UGK,
right,
I said, wait a minute, and you know what I mean. So it takes you on a journey with the music and all of it, and you're sitting there and you are in awe of what they're putting down in the film, right? You know what? Just on a side note here, it doesn't have anything to do with the film. You know what I don't like? I don't like those ads that come up when you're talking about a film on Facebook, and they tag in there talking about watch the film on a bootleg situation.
Yeah, that's tacky.
You know what I'm saying? And they're always Indonesian looking type people, and I don't know if they're fake sites or whatever, or somebody Caucasian is putting them up, but they always use Indonesian people, which makes it, especially when you're talking about a black written and produced, directed film, acted film, and the importance of it, right?
It feels like Facebook could put a stop to that if they wanted to.
I mean, they could put a stop to it if they want to, but they put it there, and you're like, what's going on? And you know, I'm an anti-bootleg dude because I own my own record store for 15 years. So to me, that really is like an insult to the people who did put their blood, sweat, and tears into it. And what it always boils down to is if you bootleg someone, then in the end, somebody's going to bootleg you, and you're probably not going to be successful because they at least have a machine.
And that's an insult to real film lovers and music lovers.
Because real film lovers and music lovers want to see it crisp, clear, and they want to see it.
Because growing up as a kid, like my first cassette tape, right? I opened it up and I love to like read the credits, right? So moving into adulthood, you know, with the CDs, I loved opening them up, right? And reading the credits and who wrote this song and who the producer was and who executive produced the album, or I mean that was me, right? Mm-hmm. So I was never a real music lover, right? And you were never a bootleg, right? A real music lover. I needed to have the original. I needed to read, because like even now with streaming, right? So you know, even though I listen to Spotify, you know, and to Tidal, I will still actually go in the store and buy the hardcover CD. I mean, I feel like I have to like read the credits and go through the, you know. But I mean, you know, I still go in Barnes and Nobles because I have to have that book to like go through, right?
Right.
So, you know, the audio is okay, but I'm like, back from the day where, you know, you had to go to the library when you were doing reports for school, and was it the Dewey Decimal System? And so I'm like one of those hands-on research person, like I need to fill the paper.
Right.
So, but yeah, so this movie, I'm telling you, it's just
on point. Now,
on point.
The cinematography. The film opens up and it shows you where you're at. It starts out at a diner. Right. And so it really kicks right in. Like when you see the trailer, it's like really kicking in the beginning of the film, right? So you're right there and you're introduced to the two characters, right? And then Cleveland, like all the other places they went through, as we look at the map again, you know it's Cleveland because you look at the street signs and then you see 69th and you say, oh yeah, that is Cleveland, right? And you see some familiar buildings, people who are from Cleveland, right? So it could be any city, but you know it's Cleveland because it's the Ohio and they say they're from Cleveland.
Or not any city. You know what stood out too?
What's that?
Was when he said, I don't want to get a film away, but they were in a black-owned establishment. Like Cleveland, we have like when you are outside of Cleveland and you go to other places and you be like, what? There's not a black-owned restaurant or barbershop or, you know, doctor or dentist or cleaners or, I mean, because Cleveland is a city where it's just like they talked about like in Tulsa, Oklahoma, like a lot of like black-owned businesses, tons. So when I saw that in the film, I said, yeah, they definitely in Cleveland.
That's right. So when he says that he wanted it's black owned, she said, "Why did we come here?" He said, "Because I'm black owned." So she's showing you in there the two mind states, right? But she was with it. You see what I'm saying? So it's not like it's one person that's conscious of the fact that it's a black owned establishment, right? She's more of a rebel, but she was like, well, how come you didn't take me to get steak and lobster, right? So
when he told her, she was with it.
So he's Christian, she's more of a rebel, and then as they start to go through this journey together, they start to switch, right? And so it's a really great situation. So the cinematography, beautiful storytelling. It could be any city, but you know the uniqueness of Cleveland, Ohio, and you can see it in the images, right? The wardrobe. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, not to cut you off, but Lena Waithe is from Chicago, right? So it's that Midwest type of connection thing. Yeah. You know?
But you know, Chicago has a slightly different thing.
Yeah, they do,
right?
but it's certain things.
Because Cleveland doesn't have gangs. We have whatever's clever. Okay. Right? And so there's gangs there, but it's so loosely. People who used to be this and that, they all hang together. You know what I mean? So it's not like it's like gangs, like whatever's clever. That's what Cleveland is about. So if somebody got something over there, they own them things, we got to go get them things, and vice versa, depending on northeast, southeast. You know what I'm saying? Right? So, that's what sets it apart. So Chicago, having it set in Chicago, it wouldn't have done right, which makes me think that she has people who are relatives
or spent time definitely
in Cleveland, Ohio, right? Because it's a different, even though we're all in the Midwest, it's a difference between Cleveland, Toledo, Detroit.
It's a difference,
Chicago.
But there's a friendliness.
No. It's a friendliness there. But what I'm saying is there's a difference in the consciousness level. The story had to be told with characters coming from Cleveland, Ohio. Because if it had been told from a West Coast point of view, then it would have been, well, let's go. Right? Yeah. Whereas, because they know what because it's consciousness, what I'm saying is it's a different existence. The cops blew down on them all the time, right? Whereas cops blow down in Cleveland every now and then and targeted hits. It's not the same. Chicago is different because it's a gang culture. So it's different. So I'm breaking this down correctly. Cleveland doesn't have, it's whatever's clever, it's whatever's popular at that moment is what they're doing. But at the same time, it's all based in consciousness. So you will have people there who can kick to you Nation of Islam. They can kick to you 5%er. They can kick to you Christianity. They can kick to you these different things, but it's a mind state of consciousness that says that I'm loose in it, but I can understand it. I can kick it with you, if we got to have this discussion. And that's what that consciousness. That's why that story could be told. Had to be told with Cleveland people in particular,
because there's a love for. Although, like you said, it can be different groups because, we had our retail store for 15 years, so everybody would be able to would convene in one spot no matter what religion or what type of work they did, or from blue collar to white collar to whatever. I mean, we've had like people who were even like pimps, right? And
players, all that.
And we would sell their books and stuff in the store.
And we've had all kinds of
but everybody had one thing in common though. Like it was what the consciousness.
Yeah, the consciousness. Because people who walked into black-owned businesses consciously did so. Yeah, right. And that's what it is. So the wardrobe. Yeah. So we always said cinematography 10, the wardrobe 10. Right. The backstory told on the characters who were their allies were great. It was told through commentary or discussions between different characters, telling the backstory of the characters that became their allies. That's 10. Well written. The use of lighting to produce the mood. Right? There's quite a few different moods in the piece. That's a 10. Film grammar, the angles, all that the director used to tell the story is a 10. Yeah. The development of love between the characters. Yeah. See, it breaks down like this. It's kind of like how relationships are. Right. There's an indifference. Right. Then there's a tension. Right. Then there's the dance. The tender moment to the love, building the bond to poetry to the conclusion. Yes. This is what this film brings, right? Right. The question is, was this film meritorious manumission? Okay. The conclusion of it. And that's not for us to say. That's for the audience to say, right? Okay. And then, like I said, there were... people had perceived problems with the actors not being ADOS and foundational Black Americans. Now, going back to what Fred Williamson said, I referenced that before. Fred Williams has said he produces films where he wins, rides off into the sunset with the girl and the goods, right? And in this film, that's not necessarily that aspect which makes good blaxploitation, but everything else is in the film, and I wonder why. It was chosen to be that one when we look for the characters to do something, right? Yeah. But anyway, so look,
because we don't want to give a film.
But we're not gonna get a film away because you have to see this film, right? So that right there was kind of perplexing, right? Because they went from Ohio to Kentucky, to Tennessee, to Alabama,
and New Orleans.
To they went to New Orleans.
Yeah.
That would be way.
Her uncle,
that's right.
Her
uncle. Okay.
And that's when they played a Megan song.
So
her
Ohio,
Megan Thee Stallion
Kentucky,
song was
Tennessee.
Really nice.
They crossed over to Louisiana, right, and then crossed back over, right. So that's how the story went, which is that's all still Underground Railroad, right, right. Yeah. So,
because like watching that film, it was nice when like trying to guess what state, because when they left New Orleans to get to Florida, right, and then I'm not give the film away, but I'm like, okay, well, what city is this? Because I was like trying to get a vibe, feeling from the people, right, that culture from that city. I wonder if this is such and such city. And then so after seeing the film and listening to like the interviews of when people interviewed Lena Waithe and Melina.
Her.
I had her name memorized.
You don't have to know it. The director. And when she, when they stated, what cities, and they were talking about the music and stuff, and I was like pleasantly surprised. I was like, okay, I was on point with that city. Okay, because I was trying to guess which city they were in. Some cities, they say, and it's been and there's certain spots in the film where you kind of have to guess or try to figure out where they are. So, so I'm gonna get to her last name. But so as we bring up the next piece here.
Yeah, but it did not disappoint though.
And it is worth seeing.
Melina Matsoukas.
Yeah, Matsoukas. That's right. So. As we begin, we're going to move on to our next. But what would you rate? What would you rate it? What would you rate the film?
Definitely a 10. Because I mean the acting was superb and on point, and Daniel and Jody, I mean they were like committed to the characters because it just felt real, right? And so this whole thing about. See, the difference between this film and Harriet, so what the confusion is, no issues with them being, what British, right? British, yeah. So who cares? The acting was superb. They were on point, and
they have a understanding which they bring to the characters. Almost overstanding that they bring to the characters from experiences.
Yeah, right? And after seeing, their interviews, seeing where their mind state is and the black consciousness that's there, with them, especially like, they were on point. Right?
I will say this about Daniel Kaluuya.
Okay, but wait, real quick. But with the Harriet thing, the Cynthia Erivo and the rude and the nasty stuff that was attached to her about African Americans. So I had a problem with the disrespect, right? But it's not the same issue here. But go ahead. You said Daniel Kaluuya.
Daniel Kaluuya is
very conscious.
He's very conscious, but he's very, very smooth.
Yeah.
So so you have to be very. Remember now, we're dealing with groups of people who don't necessarily get the same opportunities that they get over here in the States, because we fight for everything that we want for in the States, right? And we welcome people in open arms to learn and then go back to their countries of origin and then build that there, then build the whole Pan-African thing from them coming, learning, and then taking back to teach, right? But Daniel Kaluuya, and remember now what we're talking about. We're talking about ADOS and we're talking about Foundation Black Americans. Daniel Kaluuya is very smooth in the way he talks, or the way he speaks. He says that, he said in one interview that, you know, if there's a problem, he won't go for the role because he understands the importance of Black people acting in roles that's important to him, but he's getting more roles that have to do with people who are important to us, right? And the reason why I referenced Fred Williamson is the roles that Kaluuya is taking are roles where our leaders often take a fall. Right? And so his role in it, as he keeps playing roles, is he's going to be in the roles where the leaders, the Black leaders from ADOS or Foundation Black Americans who fell in the moment of trying to fight for our liberation. They were taken off the chessboard.
Fred Hampton.
Fred, he's playing Fred Hampton. He was intelligent. He says his brain was intelligent, everything, and that's what drew him to the character now. But he just said that if there's a problem, he would pull back. Well, he would know that people would have a problem with him playing Fred Hampton because Fred Hampton. Wait a minute, let me finish. And so he would know that people would have, or he could assume that there would be a problem because, you know, he is a great Black American hero through the Panthers that was taken out through a hail of gunfire, execution style. And so we have to be very, very cognizant and understanding that a person can say one thing but still be on the track to do another thing. So I'm glad that Daniel Kaluuya has taken on the roles where he talks about our fallen heroes, right? But so that may be his thing, whereas Fred Williamson said, I'm not going to take a role where I take a fall because it's about, unlike in the society necessarily, it's about the Black man and the Black woman riding off into the sunset. And so that's what I will say about that. So I don't give him any pass for that because he's saying one thing but he keeps doing something else. So that's what I will say about that. Other than that, great actor. Both of them great actor. Beautifully written, beautifully directed. I give it a 10. But I'm looking at what's happening, right? And speaking of foundational Black Americans, our next piece up is Hidden Colors 5. That's right. Hidden Colors 5, produced by King Flex Entertainment. Tariq Nasheed directed. The Art of Black Warfare, right? To have a full context of what Hidden Figures 5. Hidden Figures. See, they got me. They got me. Hidden Colors title. To have Hidden Colors 5, to understand the context of Hidden Colors 5, you have to remember the titles and remember the first 4.
Yeah, because there's a series. And we have all of them.
All of them.
And then 1804.
Yeah, 1804.
The Haitian.
But to go through that, but see, Haitian don't have nothing to do with us,
right? But that's just one of his work.
Warfare, right?
Yeah,
so
part
we're
of his
sticking
work.
on Hidden Colors.
Yeah, Hidden Colors
that
series.
has to do with the advancement of foundational Black Americans, but people in other countries who happen to be Black, who are suffering under the system of the global system of white supremacy, racism, can get this and can prosper from learning from it.
Who is the guy on, I can't think of his name now, on PBS, and they show a lot of his documentaries. Ken Burns, right? And so that's why it was important, definitely right now, this time of year. This is the holiday season. People are, what are they calling, Black Friday, Monday, Cyber Monday is tomorrow, right? So this is the time of year when people purchase Christmas gifts for family members and friends. And so you should definitely, if you don't have it, you should definitely
we haven't reviewed it yet, so how should they figure out?
No, but I'm just saying this is the intro to, we saw the film, but this is why it was very important, because we feel that it's important to, because growing up, for me, growing up, every year, I mean, from as far, I probably had one as a toddler, but when I was able to read or whatever, what is it, preschool, kindergarten, whatever, my mother always, along with my Christmas, little clothes and little toys and all this stuff, I always had a Black history book, right? When I couldn't read it as a child, she read it to me all the way up until high school, right? All the way up into high school, till senior year. So every year for Christmas, I would get a Black history book, and something where I knew, where I could learn, and I would know more and more about my lineage.
Right, heritage, yeah.
And heritage, right? So, which was very, very important to me. So my mother instilled it and ingrained it in me, and so that's why it's very important. So when you pick up your kids' video games and stuff, I feel that this is a very, come on, the 1 through 5 history, our history, and everybody should have it.
Everybody should have it.
So, okay.
Let's see. We see Shanine Keith Lay. He is from Stockton, California, director, independent film director. We're going to have him on the 15th of December. Yes. Shanine says, love that it begins in Cleveland. I love reading the dedications. I still want my CDs. Shout out to MJ for still having the best-selling album in history, Thriller 37 years. And then Brandon Maverick X Foster, blessed holidays, he said. And then we have one person who liked that. Shanine liked that. All right, so we want to thank y'all for tuning in and watching us, right? Okay, people, look. So Hidden Colors, to understand Hidden Colors and to break away from that, speaking of what Shanine was saying about Thriller, did you know that they said that Taylor Swift on the No One Watches Music Awards on ABC, since, they're turned into trying to make pop seem like it's the greatest thing when we know hip-hop music is the number one music in the world.
The Ryan Seacrest production.
Yeah, that's right. Our opinion. So Ryan Seacrest has turned it into, in my opinion, white supremacy way. They're trying to make it seem like white entertainers are doing the same thing that Black entertainers are doing. Now, Michael Jackson came in as a little wee boy with his 4 other siblings, 5, 6, 7 other siblings, and they came in and they pushed through. Motown pushed them through. Then Epic pushed them through. Then Sony pushed him through during a time in the late 60s, coming into the 70s, going into the 80s, into the 90s, when racism was thick. Right? Because it goes in ebbs and flows. So racism is thick, right? And they pushed them through right then at that time. And there's no way that Taylor Swift, when they're using their rules in the game of giving her all these awards, there's no way that she even had to even put in half of the struggle that Michael Jackson and his siblings, then he as a solo act, had to do to be where he was in the game of music. So it's no way. So everyone knows that is fictitious. It's just like when Kanye got up there, he was drunk. But drunk only brings out the truth in people of where they were going. When he got up there and said that Beyonce had the best one, put a ring on it, she did, right? And to have her win over her is just part of the white supremacy racist game that's being played, and there's no way that she will ever be as great as Michael Jackson, just surely from where he came
Taylor
from
Swift,
and what he had to go through. And that's why when we get to the next film, when we get to The Irishman, stay tuned because we're going to do The Irishman. When we get there, you're going to see, and we're going to talk about the music they used in the film and why there is the American culture is black culture. We'll get there in a second. Black culture is American culture, right? Because they have no music that doesn't emulate, or they use the music they liked was our music. But anyway, okay. Love what you guys are doing, Keith Lay said. All right, 2 crowns. We appreciate you, man. All right, so Hidden Colors 5. Again, produced by King Flex Entertainment. Tariq Nasheed directed. The Art of Black Warfare. To understand it, you have to go through the other Hidden Colors. Hidden Colors 1, the untold history of people of Aboriginal, Moor, and African descent. Hidden Colors 2, the triumph of melanin. That's this right here, people. That's what gives us the pigment in our skin. Hidden Colors 3, the rules of racism. Hidden Colors 4, the religion of white supremacy. And Hidden Colors 5, the art of black warfare. Out of all of them, the most best jam-packed, full of information presentation that there is. It's a culmination because it is the last of the series, right? What's really interesting about part 5 is he breaks it down into chapters, right? Right? And so there are certain chapters that I wrote down because we want you to see the film. You have to see the film. You can see it streaming now. He has it streaming, and you can also pick up the full set, right?
Go to his website also.
The psychological distribution of black culture, right? This really steps into what we always talk about on the show, right? Which is about how black culture is American culture, and how they use it and then they try to repackage it. That's that whole thing about the Taylor Swift thing, in our opinion, right? The whole Taylor Swift thing is fictitious, and then it gets to why people who like our music, who may be good to music, and we accept them in, but there is something about black people that there's some black people who are artists who will let people in, but then when they get around the larger body, they find out that everybody's not accepting of them because of the history. If the history was right, if it wasn't, okay, Pat Boone takes a Little Richard song and then is able to redo it and put the white face on it and then go forward with it. If that history wasn't there, then maybe that would be it. But it's a invisible ceiling that's hit, and that's why a lot of the artists who are Caucasian, who like our music and then emulate it, that may rise because of the system that we're in. They start to use alcohol and drugs, right? Because they realize that they will never be accepted and totally in what they love to do. And that's something, right? And then vice versa, before people become conscious, black people may be alcoholic because we're not accepted into their things. But the more it goes, the more we build our own institutions. We don't need to be in your institutions, right? Biological attack on black women in particular, a biological attack, right? Sexual attack on black men, right? And then Shahrazad Ali says the only man who doesn't know who he is the black man. How entertainment is weaponized, right? I mean, all of these chapters, right, that he's telling this narrative with facts,
Right.
facts to back up, historical facts to back
Right.
up what's happening.
Right.
Black resistance against white supremacy. Now,
Right.
this is where the rubber hits the road, right? Because this is the last chapter in it, right?
Right.
And a lot of people would have thought that they would have been talking about. Well, let me take you the way I interpreted it, right?
Okay.
I interpreted it as a model of Frederick Douglass, who said that we have to let our minds be the intellectual weapon, right? The more we know, the more dangerous. The most dangerous person on the planet is an educated black man,
Right.
and the educated black woman, right? But because they have subjugated the black man,
Right.
the black woman often falls in with the larger society, having to work for the larger society. So she's not necessarily raising up, because then she's in the household to have the black man subjugated, right? So, but if everything was on scale and fair, the educated black man and the educated black woman would be the two most dangerous people on the planet, because every time we know how to do something, we take it and we build pyramids. You know, figuratively speaking, but literally speaking.
Right.
We build structures and institutions that they don't know how they were built still to this day, right? And so that's what it is. So he took the model of Frederick Douglass, right? And said that, and Chuck D used to say this in Public Enemy, that his mouth was the gun and his words were the bullets, right? And that goes to the pen is mightier than the sword.
Right.
And when you know how to communicate and get across the message that you do, only people who choose not to want to hear what you have to say don't hear what you say. Everybody hears what you say and it moves. So it's knowing all of this information and then building upon it and then being able to use your verbal techniques necessary and to build institutions where you not only educate and not only live, but then you also have a structure in which that you protect yourself. So that's why this series, all of them are just so good, but this one in particular is well worth purchasing. All 5, it's really good. It's something that young children should watch. It should be in the school systems. It should be in the curriculum. It should be playing on PBS. It should be on Netflix. It should be on Hulu. It should be on, because it's just how great production it is. It should be on Amazon Prime.
Because he is our documentarian. Just like, Ken Burns, right? So, speaking of where it should be, I was just thinking just now, too, there should be, I'm surprised they didn't have a place there, but it should definitely have a spot in the Black History Museum in Washington, D.C. Because you know how they have the different displays, and there should be a spot where the television is playing Hidden Colors. But definitely, get 5 in no particular sequence. Get it as you want.
You can get the 5-pack.
Yeah.
Or you can get,
because I'm sure there's a special
5, because
holiday special, right?
Each one is in a pack. It can be watched.
Right.
They don't have to be in order because they stand alone.
Right, they do.
Right, they stand alone and they teach and they stand alone, right?
Right.
So, but do not despair, people. Do not despair that you do not see him on Amazon, Hulu, Netflix, all that on PBS, because you can stream him right on Vimeo.
Yes.
Right? Yes. You go right to Vimeo and search Hidden Colors 5 or Hidden Colors 4, 3, 2, 1, and they come up and you can stream them. You can own them digitally or you can stream them. So it's very important. Everything is well laid out. It's well structured. It's entertaining. It moves. So there are no doldrums in it.
Right.
The sound quality is there. The picture is there. The
graphics.
reenactments are there.
Yep.
I mean, everything that you look for in a great documentary is right there in Hidden Colors 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And there's no slow period.
No slow period.
Like, it's from beginning to end, you're pulled in, right? And then it's a great conversational piece, like, as well. Like, if you have family members or friends who may not be as aware, right, as you, or conscious, or, you know, as you, what you have learned, you can speak to them, like, in conversation. You know, well, did you know that? Because I would, like, for instance, grandparents, right? So as your grandparents get older, right, as well as your parents, they may not be able to see or read as much as they used to and see as clearly, right? So like, you know, when my grandmother was alive and grandfather, you know, we would be able to just throw some information out there, you know, and things that they may not have known, but information that we learned from the documentary, right? So that's why I feel it's very important to, just like I said, growing up, my mother made it a point of making sure that every year, I said Christmas because we were falling, you know, upon Christmas, but like for my birthday as well. And didn't even really have to be a birthday, because if she was in the store and she saw something, you know, she would pick it up, and she would make it a point of frequenting black-owned bookstores and stuff. Because, like I said, in Cleveland, we have that, right? So, hey, pick it up for your child. You may not be well-versed, you know, in Black history, because, like, in school, they didn't teach us Black history. Some schools, they still don't even, like, at least we did have, like, during Black History Month, you know, we did learn something. But I'm hearing that they don't even teach Black history, like, period, in some of these cities. So I feel that it's important for us to take it upon ourselves to educate our children, right?
It is true.
So all you have to do is go online, pick it up, purchase it, you know, and then you can sit and learn, as well as, you know, your child learn, and you can learn something together in the discussion.
As we go in the weeks ahead, because we have to start to decide what we're really talking about doing as far as this is concerned. Are we talking about being in the system and just correcting the system, or are we talking about dismantling the system and creating a whole new system? And then I say, where is the Constitution? Where is the Bill of Rights? Where is the habeas corpus? Where is the military? Where's the army? Where's the protection? If that's what we're talking about doing, where is that? Or are we, like Ron O'Neal said in one of his interviews that you can see on Black Reels, where he talks about, we just wanted to be in the system. We wanted to show that we were as handsome as boom, 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 and, you know, we were basically worthy. So what are we really trying to do, right? And once we can figure that out, then we can move forward, right? And so I'm going to leave that right there, because we're going to be discussing that in future episodes. But other than that, what would you rate Hidden Colors 5?
I would definitely give it a 10, you know, the highest rating, or 10, 10, 10, 10, like across the board. Because the information is, like, organized, and it's easy to understand and comprehend, and you know, it's not like, it doesn't go over your head. It's the graphics are tight and on point, right? So you have all of this movement with the graphics, as well as the information that he's giving you, you know, and great information, right? So I would definitely, along with, like, a host of excellent guests, right? Other historians, right? So throughout his series, right? Excellent historians. So, like, with all of that brought to the table, I mean, it's a win, right? So, great documentary. I would definitely give it a 10.
Yeah, I give it a 10 too. It's well worth it.
Well worth it.
Again, you can stream it right there on Vimeo.
Yeah.
And then, because Vimeo is the platform of choice for independence. You know what I mean? I'm an independent. All my films are over there at Vimeo.
Right.
And right now, we will take a moment to give a shameless plug because this is the holiday season. And why wouldn't you?
Yes.
Why wouldn't you make sure that your youngster has, or your film enthusiast has, or your podcast enthusiast has made sure to join our podcast on many different platforms, right? Including, but not limited to, iHeartRadio, right? Apple Podcasts, Google Play,
Spotify,
Podcast Addict, right? Breaker, right? Blog Talk, YouTube, of course, and then you can connect with us on SoundCloud and also on Twitter, and on our IG pages, right?
Blog Talk,
Blog Talk said that. So you can connect to us on all those platforms, and we have the music aspect of it, which again is on Apple Music, Google Play, Amazon. Did I leave Amazon out? Amazon, our podcast on Amazon and all that. Amazon on all the different platforms. Spotify, you can go right there and listen to us on Tidal. All 4 of my music titles are up there, and we're coming with more music in the new year, right? And then we have the films on Vimeo, right? You can go right over to Vimeo, type in Lordlandfilms, and you can watch much of the free content, and you can go to the demand and watch us on demand. Just go to demand and type in Lordland Films, and all of the films will come up, all the different titles, right?
Which is important because, like I said, we talked about history, but like growing up, we watched tons of black films, right? So stuff that maybe they didn't show on the network, I guess they were called...
Because it was VHS back then.
Right. So, what might have been called black exploitation films or whatever they want to, but...
What's going on to DJ Thump? I see he chimed in.
Okay, hey, DJ Thump. And so we made it, my mother, made it a point of making sure that we saw black images. So, like you said, check out all of our films with the whole Black Ice Chronicles series.
Yeah. The importance of supporting black film is not just to support it, but the importance of it is the fact that young black children need to see themselves in film. They have to see themselves in film. It is imperative. It is very important. It is by no stretch of the imagination not important. It is very important. That is the difference between being healthy and being sick in the mind. You have to see yourself in film. I mean, that's just the way it is. You have to see yourself in film. If that was not so, then the European would not have pushed so much to just make sure that he was the only one that was seen in film. So this is very important. You have to see yourself in film, right? You have to see all aspects of yourself. What's good, what's considered quote unquote good, what's considered quote unquote bad, and what's right there in the middle. You have to see it in film. Now, people, so we just finished talking about Hidden Colors. Now, the top 5. Our next topic, the top 5 best black female actors of all time, ADOS, Foundational Black American. Now, you see, now this can be very tricky. This list can be very tricky because American descendants of slavery and foundational black Americans are people that have been here since or before 1619, right? And so when you're looking at it, you're looking at that. Then you start looking at people who came in during the civil rights and post-civil rights fight era, because civil rights is still being fought. That's why they're trying to take away the 1866 Civil Rights Act, right? So you got people who were here, and then you have people who came later. So it's very important who then assumed because we were so open to have everybody come together that, you know, black people here in this country was so welcoming of black people just because you're black. We love you. Black is beautiful. Boom, boom, boom. That people could slide in and do this. But this list is not black female actors that happen to apply their trade in America. But it is the top 5 best black female actors, ADOS, Foundational Black American, right? That's what it is, right? So this is the top 5. This is my top 5, right?
Okay.
Number 5.
Okay.
Should I say this?
You want to do my list first? You want me to do my list first?
Okay, what's your list?
Okay, so you said top 5.
I got it. I'm gonna say it.
I had to, you know, go beyond 5.
I'm gonna say it.
Okay.
Sanaya Lathan, number 5.
Okay.
Right. Love and basketball.
Right.
Her father's a major producer in the game of producing black films. She's been in so many films. Right. Been on television. Right. Just you see her on your television set all of the time, right? Yes. Sanaya Lathan. Yes. Number 4. Right. Has to be on the list. Right. Born in Cleveland, Ohio. Yes. Ruby Dee. Yes. That's right, Ruby Dee. Wow. You know, I had to vet this. You know, I researched this, right? You're not going to find, you know, that there's some, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, but we said ADOS, Foundational Black American. Ruby Dee. Right. You know Ruby Dee. A lot of people knew her from Spike Lee, but if you watch a film with Nat King Cole called The Sound of St. Louis.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She plays his love interest. Right?
Right.
Ruby Dee. And so I'm just giving you some films to check out, right? Because Ruby Dee is more than just Spike Lee films, but the reason why Spike Lee had her in the film because she and Ossie Davis, but we're talking about Ruby Dee, were iconic in the push for activism, social justice, racial justice, civil rights, human rights, all the time of their lives, right? Number 3, very important. These are iconic images up on the screen during blaxploitation. Pam Grier. Yes. Yeah. Right? Pam Grier, without a doubt, you know what I'm saying? Foxy Brown. Yeah. Sheba Baby. Yes. Coffee. Yes. I mean, you name it. I mean, later she played in what's her name? Brown. What's his name? Jackie Brown. Right. Later, coming into the 90s.
Tarantino. Right.
Tarantino. That's right. Right. She is an icon and pushes through, and she has that Native American blood in her, not the $5 Indians or the people who came across the Bering Strait, but actual people that were here, when the land. But anyway, that's a whole nother story for another time. Number 2, Angela Bassett. Yes. Right? What's love got to do with it? Tina Turner, classic, Boys in the Hood, Mother and Boys in the Hood. Yeah. She's even been in outer space in movies, right? Yeah. And you see her on 911, right? That show
great show.
Right? Yeah. And she's executive producing, right? Yeah. And so these are people who are making moves. And then number 1 on my list, because Martin Luther King, this woman was thinking about leaving the show that she was on. Yeah. And Martin Luther King said, "You are doing a great service showing us in this light that you're showing us in, intelligent, educated, black woman, lieutenant, communications operator on the starship USS Enterprise. We're talking about Lieutenant Uhura, and we're talking about none other than Grace Dale Nichols, better known as Nicole Nichols.
Yes.
Now let me tell you something.
Excuse me.
Nicole Nichols on the reruns.
Yeah.
You know, Nicole Nichols. People, I mean, while I had to be subject to Three's Company, which Three's Company is a great comedy, but I got to see a black woman on TV in reruns in the 80s that I hardly saw any. Through Lieutenant Uhura, Martin Luther King was correct, and she went on to be in Truck Turner. That's the only so-called blaxploitation film that she ever did, because, you know, that's when the NWA bombed on it and caused it. But she's gone on stage, film, come back in the 80s, and Star Trek in the late 80s, coming into the 90s. So she right there is a representation of what we needed to see on the screen. Nicole Nichols. So number 5, Sanaa Lathan. Number 4, Ruby Dee. Number 3, Pam Grier. Number 2, Angela Bassett. And number 1, Nicole Nichols. That's my list. Top 5 best black female actors of all time, I would say. And then what's your list?
Okay, so of course, like when we did the hip hop.
Okay.
I couldn't name just 5 because...
You couldn't name just 5?
No, because there are tons of great black actresses, right? Mm-hmm. One isn't ADOS, but she's a great actress.
Okay, why couldn't it be ADOS?
I mean, it could have been, but when I did the list, I forgot about that part. And
you forgot about ADOS?
No, on my mind, I was just thinking...
You were just thinking black. See, that's how they get us.
Well, no, when you mentioned it, I was doing something else, so my mind was somewhere else.
That's why the first and second generation immigrants are sitting up there at the White House with Donald Trump instead of ADOS sitting there dropping demands down, right? What's going on?
Okay, so Lynn Whitfield, right? Okay. Her body of work is amazing, and if you are watching Greenleaf, right, on OWN, this woman is, you know, in no particular order.
No particular order.
Right. So I said Lynn Whitfield, you know, Regina King. Okay. Diane Carroll. All right. Gabrielle Union. You know, and then I you know, have Lupita Nyong'o.
Okay. She's definitely not ADOS, but she does. Actress. She's out there to fight the power. She's an ally.
She's an ally, right?
Right.
Viola Davis. And of course, like from your list, I mean, Ruby Dee. You know, Cleveland's own, as well as Halle Berry. Cleveland's own. Sanaa Lathan. Pam Grier, of course. I said Viola Davis, right? Taraji P. Henson. Okay. Queen Latifah. Queen Latifah is a really good actress, but when I saw her in Betsy, she killed it. She was committed to that part.
And that's when you knew that she was the true blue.
She's the truth. Jada Pinkett Smith, Megan Good, Regina Hall, Pam Grier, Angela Bassett, right? And of course, see, I had to pull out, because some people forget, Diana Ross, right? And then the reason why I said that is because in Lady Sings the Blues, she kills that character. Like the emotional ride you're being taken on with Billie Holiday. You know, from the beginning to the end, the ups and the downs, Diana Ross killed it. Of course, we know her from The Wiz, Mahogany, Double Platinum. That was with her and Brandy. She did an excellent job on that. But what people forget also, and some may not, Out of Darkness, when she played a woman who was mentally ill, she killed that role. Because people talk about Sybil a lot, right? And I believe that was Sally Fields who did an excellent job, right? But Diana Ross in the film Out of Darkness, who played a mentally ill woman, she killed it, right? So her acting was superb. And then, of course, her daughter, Tracee Ellis Ross is a great actress as well. But Diana Ross also, she was on the list.
So your list
was beyond 5.
Your list included how many non-ADOS members?
Just one.
Just one? Are we sure about Diana? I know she was born in Detroit.
Don't be a hater.
Okay, people. So
I had a Diana Ross doll when I was a little girl.
Okay.
Not Barbie.
Not Barbie.
I mean, my mother was on it when I was a little girl, right? And so my first black doll was a little Diana Ross doll.
Okay.
And my niece carried on the tradition as a little girl. Her first doll was Brandy.
No, okay. There you go. See? There you go. So Anwar Bowman on the Black Filmmaker group on Facebook, he chimed in. He gave his list of from Black Filmmakers group. He gave his list.
Okay.
He said Angela Bassett, Cicely Tyson, Regina King, Taraji P. Henson, Viola Davis, Kerry Washington. Honorable mentions. Kerry Washington and Lupita. Now, people, there's
great list.
It's a great list.
I forgot about Kerry. Oh my gosh,
it's a great list. But you see how this is, because people who are coming over are not respecting the people who made it possible for them to come over. The ADOS and Foundational Black Americans. It feels strange to then segregate out people who are plying their trade and making success in America, who identify with black people. But unfortunately, Cicely Tyson, her people were Caribbean Islanders. They came here later, right? And so they are not in ADOS, so that eliminates her. Plus, she did that craziness with from what Ron O'Neal talks about. Ron O'Neal going out there bashing the film because Sounder wasn't doing. But that's another story for another time. But and then Lupita, right? Lupita, she's fighting the power. We all with her, but because certain people from Africa, certain countries in Africa are coming over acting crazy, then we can't really tell.
She has nothing to do with
but it's unfortunate. Isn't it unfortunate?
She is from a different country. She is not from the same country.
But isn't it unfortunate though?
Yeah,
that's the way it is. That we have to.
But I'm glad he mentioned Kerry Washington, because she is definitely on my list. Also, I forgot all about her. There's so many
Kerry Washington
actresses.
Is being typecast. She's every film. She's like the white woman's catnip. What's his name?
Oh, you said Blair Underwood.
Blair Underwood, though, is married to a black woman, has black children. He loves it, and she's married to a black man, has black children.
Right.
She loves it, but she's like, she's like the white man catnip.
But you know what? Who we left out, and then not thinking of the youth, I forgot all about her, because we saw Zendaya's acting, her range of acting in Euphoria.
Okay.
I knew she was a good actress, right?
You check Zendaya. That name alone, you just got to check it. You just got to check to see what the background. You just got to check it. Hey, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate the way it is. But if they could just snap the group of people up who are coming from the same places they come from, they could just snap them up. Then we could get back to a even basis. Now, people. Yeah. So that was the list of the top 5. Now, that's just a little politic. Not little politic. It's big politic. It's politic. It's in there. It's homegrown. It's in there. It's in the film. It's in film because it seems like it's like the invasion of the black body snatchers. But anyway, people, let's move on. The Irishman.
Irishman. Okay.
On Netflix, right? So we can go through and get the cast members as I check out what the populating is, right? If you have any questions, you can ask them right there, and we'll answer it right there on the
First
situation,
of all,
right?
we was told about this film a while ago. Actually, someone called up. Right?
Yeah, his name was Tony, right?
Right.
And he called up and he said that he was calling up to let us know about the film.
Right, and when he told us the cast, this was a year ago, right?
Yeah, that was a year ago.
And when he told us about the cast, and I'm pulling up the cast now, I was just like, okay, this is gonna be a great film.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great film. But look, people. Okay,
I had a cast.
So, The Irishman, Al Pacino,
Right.
Robert De Niro,
Right.
Scorsese. This is supposed to be Scorsese's masterpiece. Let's go through before we break this down. Stay tuned for this breakdown on this film. Let's go through the cast.
Okay, so
Let's go through the main cast members, not all the secondary people.
So Robert De Niro plays Frank.
Mm-hmm.
Frank the Irishman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So my phone. Al Pacino plays Jimmy Hoffa.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Pesci plays Russell Bufalino.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Bobby Cannavale plays Joe Gallo. Ray Romano plays Bill Bufalino. And then Anna Paquin from that's shown HBO with the vampires.
Yeah, her.
True Blood.
True Blood.
Plays Peggy Sharon in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, so The Irishman, Pacino, De Niro, Scorsese. This is supposed to be big. Don't forget about Pesci, Joe Pesci.
Yep, I mentioned Joe Pesci.
Oh, you
I
did?
said Pesci,
Okay.
but you know who I want to add to
Who?
is Dominique Lombardozzi.
Uh-huh.
I hope I didn't butcher his last name, but he's also from the cast of Power.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, so people, look, listen. This film is supposed to be a masterpiece, right?
Right.
Well, there's a technology in Hollywood where you put, they described it on this interview that we watched, golf balls, but they're really points that they put on to be able to reconstruct the face digitally. They should have put the golf balls on their faces, right? They should have put the golf balls on these aging men's faces, right? All of the actors, except for the ones that were playing in their age group. Now, De Niro and Pesci and Pacino all play characters. You're introduced to the characters when they are younger, right? They should have put the golf balls on the faces because all of the actors looked too old to be playing 25, 30.
Because they used the golf balls in the movie, The People with the Blue. I can't even think of the name of that movie.
They just use it in a lot of movies to make
like
people
the
look
Guardians
younger.
of the Galaxy.
They used it in Will Smith's film. We don't even have to go nowhere.
Right, like tons of. It's just like this.
It's
maybe
just
not called CGI, but that type of
it's
stuff.
It's just
where
the technology.
Make you look younger.
Right, it makes you look younger. Will Smith.
Or look like an
Gemini
alien
Man.
or something. Make
right.
your skin blue or purple or. Yeah.
Right. All of the actors look too old to play the younger versions of themselves. De Niro. Now, De Niro, you know, like as you get older, your back starts to slump. I knew his back had to be hurting because he was standing up there trying to keep his back as straight as possible, walking, and that's just not him. You know what I'm saying? It's not spry. They even talked about an interview where he got up and he was coming down the steps and he said, well, he's got to be more spry.
Yeah.
This is a 30-year-old. This is a 30-year-old, not a near 80-year-old, right?
Yeah.
That's one thing, right? So either he should have invested in getting the younger actors to play those roles and then bring them in. They could have morphed them in and said, okay, this is Joe Pesci, this is da-da-da, right? Just like how they would describe, you would see people walk past the screen, they would freeze frame and say, this person got shot on the porch 100 times, or they got blown up in their house, or shot in their car, or 2 to the head, throat slit, right? So his back had to be hurting. A fight scene didn't work in my opinion as I was watching it, because a younger man wouldn't move like that, and they were putting in the sound effects, and De Niro just looked old kicking this guy, and you're like, no, it's no way. And he's supposed to have a little daughter, and it's all about the grocer, and the grocer said something to the daughter, so he took his little 9-year-old daughter down there and said, what did you say? And pulled him out, threw him. I mean, it just didn't look real, and it looked like this is a younger man's game. Remember, being a warrior is a young man's game. By the time you get into your 60s and 70s, you're just the person that's supposed to give knowledge so they won't repeat the same mistakes, but you're not sitting up there doing the same thing, right? So look, what else here? The film was 3 hours and 20 minutes long. Too long. The plot, the through line of the film. This is the through line of film. A bunch of Sicilians and Italians killing each other up.
And Irish.
I mean, no. It was one Irish. It was one Irish doing killing. Okay. But it's Italians basically, when they show him killing people. Okay. But who is he killing for? He's killing Italians or Sicilians for other Italians or Sicilians, because those are made men. Okay. And you can only be the only way you could be a made man was to be Sicilian. You had to come from Sicily. You couldn't come from Italy. Italy and the little island on the side, Sicily, was where the mafia, the Black Hand, came from. And so, first the Black Hand and the mafia came from there to defend people against the Black Hand, as the gangster told me. I can't think of his name right now, but we interviewed him.
Yeah, it was a great interview.
He was a consultant on Casino.
It was Frank.
Frank Gall. Oh gosh, I can't believe I can't. Wait, when we interviewed him, I should put that back up. Yeah. But he said that you had to come from Sicily to be in the mafia. So it's not just Italian. Yeah. So Italian people who were just straight Italian, who were not Sicilian, could work for the organization, but they could never get to the upper calling the boss shots, right? So it's a bunch of Sicilians and Italians killing each other in the whole film. Right. Now, I don't know if Scorsese was trying to take the mystique off finally as he's up in age and looking back, because this is a story about looking back through the eyes of the Frank character, Frank the Irishman character. Right. It's looking back at it. Was he trying to take the glamour off of it? Maybe, but it was just the whole through line was Italians killing each other. Like you at least the other films showed you there was some kind of code, right, that they lived by. But in the end, it looked like there was no code and everybody was just killing up.
Well, as a filmmaker, I say he was just keeping it factual. He was keeping it factual.
Tiara King waves. She said hello. Tiara. She's watching.
We love you.
So we're talking about, for those who are just chiming in, we're talking about The Irishman, right? Now it's based on a book by Frank the Irishman, and he claims in the story, which this is no thing. We know Jimmy Hoffa died. He claims that he had some involvement in that, right? Okay. But the whole through line, the whole plot is Sicilians killing up Sicilians and Italians. Right. Sicilians and Italians killing. I mean, it's just 3 hours and 20 minutes of it. Oh my gosh. Right? Now, there are great scenes between Al and Robert, especially when De Niro Frank, portraying Frank, tries to get Pacino playing Hoffa to stop, retire due to the fact that Joe Pesci's Russell Buffalino.
Okay.
Russell's Buffalino
Okay.
has a dislike for Hoffa because he's loud and he's disagreeable, and it is what it is.
Okay.
And he said, no, it's not what it is. And so this is where the story plays out, right?
Right.
The scene between Pesci and Pacino shows Pesci's range.
Yeah.
Because, anybody who knows Casino and all the other
Yeah.
movies Joe Pesci is in, usually Joe Pesci is the loud one.
Yeah.
He's the one that beats the brakes off people and gets them scared through his loud talk. He makes them fear him because of his loud talk. He had to play this calm and with force, and the audience, he had to portray with his face and with the audience that this was nothing to play with. And though Hoffa, played by Pacino, was going off the rails, he stood there calm, and you knew the time was up. And he put that, so it showed Pesci's range, because usually Pesci, and even Pesci said in an interview that he really wanted to play one of the more wilder guys, but really this showed his range. So there was a method in Scorsese's madness, but it just didn't come together for what we said in the aforementioned, right? Jack Houston as Robert Kennedy, he may be a great actor, but it was a total miscast. He looked like an Italian Robert Kennedy. He was olive complected, and Robert Kennedy was Boston, New England, Irish, pale, less defined features. Just narrow, thin lip. This guy did not fit it. I don't know if somebody dropped out or something, but it just didn't make it believable, right? The music. This is what we were talking about earlier, right? About black culture being actually American culture. That our culture is what is American culture. The music used more than ever shows that the culture of America is black culture. The songs which mattered were black artists or black influence. So what do I mean by that? Everything and when you walked into these were early scenes. This was supposed to be back like in the 1950s, which why they should have used younger actors or used the CGI balls on the face to make them younger, like what they did in Gemini Man. Martin Scorsese blinked on that, and he should have done it, and it would have helped the actors, the older actors that's not used to doing that, transcend into a new arena where they would be ready for it. I thought so. That was a misstep on his part, which makes the film not that good because it's not believable. But anyway, so this is the 1950s going to the 60s. It comes all the way up into the time where the Irishman passes, right? But the music that they played in the bar, what they used to was R&B, was soul music, right? They listened to it, and back then in those times, because Caucasians did not want black people in their homes unless they were domestics, right? So they weren't dealing with album covers that had the actual artist on the cover. They would have paintings of sunsets and all that, and they would have what is his name? I was thinking of a perfect name for it. Burke. What's his name? Burke. And he's up there, and they say love will change the world, something like that. But it's sunsets and everything. Or they would have two Caucasians in silhouette looking at each other on the covers, right? So this was big in the 50s.
They kind of covered this also in what was it in Cadillac Records?
Yes.
When they showed the different fake covers.
Right. Because they didn't want to do that, right? They didn't want to do that. And so that's why hip hop was such a revolution, because then little Becky in Kansas was taking down her Menudo poster and putting up Eazy-E up there, and then, you know, so it's a shock.
Right.
It's something shock to the system. It's something new. So, but the music that mattered, the music that they listened to, is like today hip hop music. Back then it was soul, R&B, blues, right? We just finished watching the other show. We binge watched that. We're going to talk about that in the future with old girl about the teeth.
The teeth. Oh, is it the sharp?
Yeah, sharp objects, right? HBO. We just finished that, and the music that's playing in there, in the bars, the music that the kids are listening to that are of a younger generation. In the bars, they listen to straight blues records, right? Blues records by black blues musicians. Now, this is a all-white town in Missouri, and then the young kids are listening to hip-hop music. And so you see that the culture comes through the music, and the music that matters most is being emulated is black music. And that's why I go back to what I said about Taylor Swift. In my opinion, is they know that particular award show that no one watches, the ratings were down. No one watches. They know that that's all fictitious, that that's not real, that she couldn't, as Elvis used to say, a black man couldn't even shine my shoes. She can't shine Michael Jackson's shoes. Although, as far as talent is, truthfully, as far as talent is concerned, she can't. I mean, that's fact. That's just reality, and so the music that matters.
Speaking of, we're gonna cover it in the near future, but in the opening scene, episode 1, the opening scene in The Watchmen, the white supremacist gets out the car listening to who? Who is he blasting? Future.
Right. In the opening, it's the opening scene after the flashback. When it comes to modern time.
He's blasting hip hop artist Future.
But he's a stone cold racist. For those who haven't seen Watchmen, it's based in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and it opens up with the 1921 massacre of black people in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
So we'll be covering that. But you know who we did?
That's next week, matter of fact.
Speaking of in the Irishman, Stephen Graham, they should have had him at the top actually. This is his character is who Pesci said that the hothead is who he would have liked. He would have wanted to be.
Yeah. So people, look. So we ran that down to you, but the truth about the Irishman is that it could have been so much better. It was some blinking that Scorsese did. It should have put the balls on the face, like I said. It's not realistic. It's some good scenes on it. It's too long. What would you rate The Irishman?
I would give it a 7. You know, not a 10, but I would give it a 7. And the 7 would be based on the acting, number 1. So the acting was superb. Under the conditions, like you said, you know, they are up in age, but the acting...
Let's quantify and qualify.
Okay.
The acting when they were getting up in age was superb.
Yeah, because the scenes between, you know, as the older men, but the majority of those are the scenes.
The 2 hours.
The end of the film. Well,
the 2 hours and some minutes that it took where they were supposed to be younger men is what makes it trash.
Yeah. So maybe for me, was it like I guess the last 2 hours or maybe hour and a half.
Last hour and a half. Look. Yeah. What makes it not good and what makes it trash? And I was disappointed because what makes it trash is it's just like when I'm watching boxing. Boxing is a sweet science.
Okay.
It's the science of hit and not get hit, right? Okay. So Floyd, master at it, right? When you get two Mexican fighters in there and they look at each other and they let them pound each other in their head and they say, "You're not affecting me. Come on." Right. That is not boxing. That's not even brawling. That's just people that are trying to get themselves punch drunk later in life. And this is what I compare this film to, analyze this film to. It's like boxing having two Mexican fighters who don't have the sweet science. Now Floyd trains people Mexican fighters who have the sweet science, right? And so they get in there and they beating up them dudes just talking about I'm He-Man Mexican fighter. But my pain on two Mexican fighters talking about I'm He-Man and I can take your punches and let's just keep punching each other and get all bloodied up and stuff. That is not boxing. That's not even brawling. That's just something else. That's not even that's not even UFC. That's just something else. And so that's what I equated to. You're seeing a bunch of Sicilians and Italians kill each other up, or they put under in letterbox talking about how this person died and all these people who they never really introduced the character more than they're walking through the frame or they're sitting at the table. And it's all just craziness, and it's just a pile of Sicilians and Italians killing each other that was supposed to be in code but weren't in code. And I don't know if that's what he was trying to say, but also the aging situation where they could have morphed them down to younger wasn't done. And it's only an hour or so in the film where there's some real acting interpersonal between the characters. That's good. You could get out of 10.
Could have been edited down a lot more.
It could have been edited down to an hour and 20, and it could have really told the story. But with all that, I give it a 4, and it's really disappointing because I was expecting Scorsese to come with something more, but this is not it. And I see people on the internet asking questions, and I didn't read the comments because I wanted to give this, but I cut this up and put it under there to answer the questions. What did you think about it? It was not good. It's almost like how Clint Eastwood's career, since he got up there and talked to the chair in 2012, how his career has, the last two films, the film he was in flopped. The next film he's coming out, that's going to flop. I mean, it's like at the end to have such an illustrious career and have it flop. And the same thing with Scorsese. Like, I don't know if they put him in the nominations for this, it's just out of reverence of who he is, because everybody can say it's not that good. I had to say, to me, it's trash.
Who you said there are questions posted?
Yeah, there's questions asking about
the film.
What do you think about it, right? And if I didn't read the comments, but I will. But to me, the film is not good. It's a 4.
Yeah, so I would, a 7 is what, 70 satisfactory, like in school?
No, it's not satisfactory because it's not entertaining. It's too long.
For me,
there's a bunch of Italians killing. Let's take Sicilians. There's a bunch of Italians killing each other. I mean, it's just too long.
It's not The Godfather.
They were too old to play the part, right? And then, I mean, it's just.
I think he wanted to get his buddies together, basically, and they all wanted to work together.
But they should have done it and put a film together. It's a stain on his. Well,
it'll go down as a classic.
Only if it's re-edited. But look, people, listen. So that's our rating on that. You can go watch that on Netflix. You're going to be sitting there.
And give us your opinion, right?
I'm not gonna, give us an opinion, because I'm not going to say that it's worth seeing, but you will be sitting there for a while. And you're going to say, when is this thing going to pick up? It's the truth, though. It's the truth. I can only speak the truth about what I see. What I see, the cinematography. I could talk about the cinematography, but it was too long.
Yeah, I was kind of going in and out on the film.
I mean, it's just too long, so I'm just gonna tell the truth about it. I was expecting
the scenes
more.
That I saw.
But here's the question: was there any racist tropes. And yes, there is. Yes, there's one because
wasn't in English.
They somehow put a black dude in there assassinating somebody. I don't know how they did it. It was kind of like Operation Finale when they somehow put black in something that had to do with the Jewish Holocaust, but they somehow put a black dude in there assassinating a Sicilian upper guy, and somehow they put it in there, and Joe Pesci says something. It's just like you put them together, they're all the same. So he was talking about the Irish and the blacks, but he said something in Italian and Sicilian, and I said, what is that he's saying? But that was one racist. They put one racist trope.
We don't know that's what he said.
He said put one racist trope because that's what he was talking about. And he said, I said, I got to grab that and put that in translator. I got to put it in translator. And they had one racist trope in it, but they did not use the N-word. But they said, let's put this in it. They didn't use the mooly word either. So it was something else. And he says it. He said, you put them together, they're all the same. And then I was like, they snuck one in. Scorsese had to get one in. But he said, we got to be politically, and this year's a political record. It can only be one. It couldn't be that. And so they had to sneak one in. Right? Okay, people. So that's what it is. So there is one racist trope. Is it dope or nope? No.
You know what? Going back to actresses, when we talked about film album covers, right? And then I mentioned Cadillac Records. They also showed the album cover situation in Dreamgirls. Also, right?
Dreamgirls.
But speaking of Cadillac Records, okay. So Beyonce should have been nominated. Her acting, we talked about that when she played Etta James in Cadillac Records. She killed it. So I just wanted to make sure that I add.
They gave it to Jennifer Hudson. Remember?
For Dreamgirls, when I'm talking about Cadillac Records.
Okay, that's right. For some reason,
Beyonce is a good actress also. So
but for some reason, they don't want Beyonce to have those accolades because Beyonce is a foundational Black American, and she doesn't care. She sat up there in the beginning. Remember the year they finally gave him an award to Jay-Z and Beyonce wasn't there. Right, they were like, we're not coming because you don't never give it. You give it to some other people.
They just giving awards out to anybody.
They do. Okay, people.
It's crazy.
So we come down to the end of another robust the film review, movies, music, culture, politics, society. And let me tell you, we just picked up South Africa listening to the podcast, right? Remember the podcast, you can see the podcast. I wonder if I have that graphic real quick. If I put that graphic down here, because I did not. Okay, so you can see the podcast. You can listen to the podcast on the replay on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Podcast Addict, on YouTube, right? You're watching us now on YouTube and on Facebook, but the replay is on YouTube, and then the bells and whistles with the magic and the music and all that go on the replay on Spotify and all the other podcast platforms in about an hour, right? So we want to shout out to all the different countries that are watching us before we chime out for tonight. The United States, Canada, Mexico, Peru, United Kingdom, Belgium, Netherlands, Italy, Germany, Poland, Sweden, Turkey, Iraq, Egypt, Ethiopia, Malawi, South Africa, which is actually Azania by the people, right? Pakistan, India, Thailand, and Australia. And we want your countries watching us and listening to us too, right? So make sure you spread it and you take this and you spread it to all your different people in different countries, because we want all the countries listening. And again, you can hear us on all of your favorite podcast platforms. That's where we are. And don't forget to follow Crazy D Film Dude on IG, and Movie for Life Girl. Yes, that's right, on Instagram. Crazy D DVD on Twitter. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so this has been another robust episode of the film review.
Right.
Movies, music, culture, politics, and society.
Right.
We are the husband and wife team, the voice of the filmmaker and the voice of the critic. I'm Crazy Dee.
I'm Tracey.
And we review movies, music, culture, politics, and society. And we have come to another end of the show for the film review.
The film review. Music, culture, politics, society podcast, interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 5:30 p.m. on Facebook at Crazon Dion.
Hey everybody, this is Lunell, the original bad girl of comedy. I'm here at the Link Promenade in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, and you're watching the film review.